Okay, we apparently do not know how to calculate scriptures and how much time it's going to take us. I like to calculate one chapter per day, but I do not know how to subtract or multiply or whatever to figure out that I did not want to read 4 chapters at one time. And that's what we're doing today. So the last chapter was 2nd Nephi chapter 15, and we are now going to be reading chapter 16 in 2nd Nephi. And it is 13 verses, which is great. But just to make sure, in case you missed the last episode, remember to go subscribe to the free church magazines, because they are now available for free. You do not have to pay for them. Put them in, just add them to log into your account. I'm going to put the link in the description, and they will mail you those in like a couple months or whatever. But it's so good to have them in your home and have them top of mind, because sometimes things that you don't see are out of sight, out of mind, right? And two of our kids don't even have cell phones. And my other child is on his cell phone constantly, but not on the Gospel Library app as much as I'd love for him to be on the Gospel Library app. You know what I'm saying? And so these are just like awesome reminders to like have them look through, things when, maybe you're making dinner, you have them look through it at the table or whatever. Have them teach from these, a family home evening lesson or any lesson that might stand out to them. And it's just awesome. So if you missed it, the last one, that's my plug this time. And then we're still reading in Isaiah. Oh, well, it's 2nd Nephi chapter 16, but we're in the Isaiah chapters, right? Because this is where Nephi really loves Isaiah. So he's putting these things in. And yeah, so that is where we're at. And I am going to be reading live it from the Don't Miss This on the next episode. Okay, here we go. Here's the chapter heading. Isaiah sees the Lord. Isaiah's sins are forgiven. He is called to prophesy. His prophecies of the rejection by the Jews of Christ's teachings, a remnant shall return. Compare Isaiah 6. Okay. Here we go. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon the throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Okay. The little commentary from Redheaded Hostess says, this chapter is a record of Isaiah being called to prophesy to the people, which occurred around 740 BC. Isaiah is having a vision and will attempt to describe what he is seeing using figurative language. Remember, like, his figurative language is going to be different than our figurative language because of the time that he lived in, right? Like he didn't have the same, things that we have now. So this is often how prophets seek to explain the grandeur and splendor of such a moment. Isaiah explains that he saw the Lord sitting upon a throne. Is the Lord actually sitting upon a throne? Maybe, maybe not. If not, what would the throne represent? What is Isaiah seeking to communicate? Isaiah also says that the Lord's train filled the temple. This could be his robe. Consider a wedding gown with a great train. The long train would represent greatness. The train could also mean the Lord's followers. I like how we can interpret different things depending on who is the one reading it. And when you're reading it, the Spirit will be able to communicate to you what you need when you're reading it. And when you're trying to help your children understand, you're going to be able to be blessed with the ability to explain it to them in a way that they can understand. And so it's going to be so many different ways that you're going to see this. And hopefully, you don't feel overwhelmed by some of the things that you don't understand, and just kind of pick out some nuggets. Because every time we read Isaiah, or anytime we read any scriptures, there's different parts of it that are going to apply to our lives in a different way. So I know Isaiah is really hard to understand sometimes, but just think of it as just little nuggets that you're going to take, and it's not a complete waste of your time. Okay. So verse 2, above it stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. Okay, remember. we can speculate, some scriptural speculation, right? From Red Headed Hostess says, wings are symbols of power, and these beings had 3 sets of these wings. With one set, they covered their faces, like they are veiling their faces from the Lord's glory. With another set, they covered their feet, and with another set, they could fly. Seraphim is plural for seraph. The Bible dictionary describes seraphim to be fiery beings or angelic beings. What could these wings and symbols represent about beings in heaven? I love like being able to speculate in my own way, different scriptures. Okay, verse 3, and one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Excuse me. Then said I, Woe is unto me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the glory, or the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphim unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this has touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Okay, first of all, the thought of having super hot coals on my lips feels insane. Like, literally my lips would be burned off, right? Also, but then like it also feels like this is like awesome that your iniquity would be taken away, right? So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. Iniquity being taken away always seems like it'd be a great thing. But I don't know about the the hot coal being on my lips. But maybe that's just supposed to be symbolic of like how hard it is to purge or take things away. Like how hard it is for sin to be removed, right? And then the Isaiah is, so Reddit hostess commentary on this says, Isaiah looks around and realizes that he feels out of place here. He is undone or not ready, so he will be made ready. One of the seraphim take a live or hot coal from the altar. This altar, which is the presence of the Lord, would have been either the altar of incense or the altar of sacrifice, both being symbols of the atonement of Jesus Christ. The coal is laid upon Isaiah's mouth and then burned or cleansed Isaiah's sins away. Okay. They don't talk about how painful this could possibly be, right? But we can only imagine. Okay, verse 8. Also, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here am I, send me. And he said, Go and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but they understood not, and see ye indeed, but they perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and be converted, and be healed. Okay, so verses 8 to 10, now Isaiah is ready, and he responds to the Lord's question, Whom shall I send? Isaiah replies, Here am I, send me. Then Isaiah receives the call to go to preach to the people. The last part of verse 10 could be misunderstood to say that the Lord does not want the people to be converted. Rather, this verse is saying that the people did not want to see or hear or understand because they might be converted if they did. The first part of the verse counsels Isaiah to make the truth so clear that they cannot avoid it. The last part is referring to their attitude. Okay, so isn't that funny? Like sometimes as a parent, when you're trying to tell your kids something or they ask something, it's like, well, do you really want to know the answer to that question? Why are you asking? You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like we really don't want to know the answer, and some like we will pray for certain things, right? We're like all about praying for certain things, and then there's certain things that we don't pray for on purpose because we know what the answer is going to be and we just don't want to hear it. or you know that you can ask your parents something, but you already know what they're going to say, and so you don't even ask, right? So that must be like what this is here. Okay. So like they're just being stubborn. They don't want to hear it. Verse 11, they said, I, Lord, how long? And he said, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. And the Lord have removed men far away, for there shall be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet there shall be a tenth, and they shall return, and shall be eaten as a teil tree, and as an oak whose substance is in them when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be a substance thereof. Okay, so the last part here says, Isaiah asked the Lord how long the Israelites will reject the Lord. And the answer is that they will continue to reject until they are scattered or removed far away. Kind of like, I guess, like sometimes kids just are never going to learn until something changes, right? In verse 13, a teal tree and an oak tree are both trees that cannot just be cut down. New life will shoot forth from their trunks, and the tree will regenerate. Wow. Wish that was how my tulips and things were. No. Apparently, we have to like dig them up and put them back in or something. It's random, and it's so weird. Like, just regenerate, you know? Anyway, so though Israel will be eaten, or eaten is a term that represents the enemy coming and consuming them, they will come forth again. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, there were no quotes with this one. So this one's a very short verse, or this one's a very short chapter, and we're going to take advantage of that because we are trying to cover so many chapters right now. So until the next one, stay strong, warrior.